What a wonderful performance from Kgafela, Lima Rabele. You are at the Soda Studios. We're coming out live to the world. It's a virtual experience. And of course, experiencing some beautiful music, some beautiful art, some beautiful poetry. Kgafela wa Magogodi, thank you so much for the performance. Exe? Exe, ke grand. It's a wonderful feeling.
It's not easy, but I cannot invite. I reach your name.
Probably.
Yeah, it's not just talk sweets. But the problem is just talk sweets. How can you ring?
I see.
Yeah, kere no mulom wa kwalega wa momona ra.
Momona stock sweet.
That's how, you know. How about la stock sweets mo mulomo.
Yeah.
Yeah, na se khanne stock sweets ma ke ra ke nganyu sukiri so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Let's also welcome Advocate Sipho Mantula, researcher, African historian, reggae aficionado, you know, as well.
Yeah, Mafrika.
Greetings, Mafrika.
Greetings, Mafrika.
Good to see you on this virtual space.
No, Mafrika, this is the space, you know, but we still miss that space of originality, you know.
Of course.
Kgafsu willing to talk about Galfatse, Hagifitla, Mayibuye, Africa, Ira. But I think this is an important day to people like Bohastens and Jofu. We must mention names that are never mentioned, you know, you know.
No, I mean, there were many of them, you see, because sometimes also the mistake that we do, like Honano, we mentioned names Tamachita.
Yeah.
And Nomsizi cry.
Sure.
Honalebo Semutli. Because I get my World Care Theatre, and I know that people like Nomsizi cry, for instance.
I know.
Anyway, so she writes this document, Nomsizi Cry, that defines what black theater is in the 1970s. And in 1973, that document was read by Sipho Buthelezi, Komfulo Hall. And it was basically trying to articulate all these things that we do here. The idea that, you know, Africa is pregnant with all this wealth, with all this culture. And she's breaking it down, man, taking it beyond the Greeks, because the mistake that we make when we get into Western education, we are told that all these forms of theater, all these mysteries come from elsewhere, but they are us and they are with us. So Nomsizi Cry is one of those women who were active in the 70s. Alongside people like Sam Moodley, who was also active in another part of this country, So it's important that I'm saying that as we celebrate the men who are active, that we also recognize the efforts of women to bring us here, you know. Yeah.
And you know, Paul, as people are following us, Africa as well sees this day as a day of an African child, you know.
Yes.
Since 1991. But if you look at Africa now and its leaders, you know, Africa is still being led by elders, you know, by old people, you know, aging and ailing. I will use the word aging and ailing because these elders said they are not giving this baton. You had the era Yabo Kagame, Kabila, Gaboma 94.
Yeah.
But this is the leadership that was even fragile by that time, you know. Looking at now, if you look at the current president we have in this country, Cyril Ramaphosa, for some of us, you don't see the pan-Africanism, you don't see that BC consciousness. Like, a day of today, it has been reduced even to the sense where as if Onkopozitiro was not there, as if the BC education, yabo Uncle Zef, Mutupele me actually baby, Mutupenkamo Orlando West Felara.
Yeah.
Those were the mothers who were involved, Paul, because now what I am trying to say, there was a parliament that was burned down on this day. Hence, there was another book that was banned. It was called The Year of Fire and The Year of Ashes. There were many books, Amandla, you know, Sipho,
Sipho's Pamla.
Yes, you want to libo Brasipo. But Miriam Tlalilen, as you work about me when I have skim in my reasoning lane, you must always have a book in your pocket, you know. And that woman was robbed as well by the so-called Western academics, coming to steal the knowledge of our elders all the time. I want to work at the memories of our struggle. Some people are writing narratives about them. Some media houses are documenting stories about them. Hence today we were lamenting harena voice aga so buku harena le visual aga so buku harena visual ya go sheba even those people Kgafela was talking about earlier, the black theater, people who were around the black theater, bo Redon Matera, you know, as a writer by then, you know, teaching other journalists, you know. So for now is that this day should go beyond. You know, Asania celebrating it as the Youth Day. And visually, got the Zoom, the Microsoft, the webinar.
Yeah.
We must be real somehow.
Yeah, there are webinars now. You know, we're used to seminars, but they are webinars. What is it, Awuti?
We are catching up, my brother.
Let's talk a little bit about theater. Nosilimela, you did, you know, an adaptation. I mean, that piece was originally penned down by the great late Credo Mutwa. Take us through, you know, how you stumbled upon that and what resonated in you, you know, when you stumbled upon that particular piece of writing.
Yeah, hey, stumbled. Yeah, maybe wait, maybe we're yeah, it's possible that I stumbled onto it. But look, yeah, this is the kind of accident. I was in a class by a great teacher called Becky Peterson years ago when I was an undergraduate student. And we were going through African literature studies. We had people like James Ogude, people like Isabel Hofmeyer, Paswan Mpe was there as well, you know. So these are the people that at the time, I think, you know, were Nebare Khabudi. So Becky was teaching African play making, and I encountered this text, Unosilimela, written by Credo Mutwa in the 1970s. So it stayed with me for a while because I think I wasn't ready at the time. So I had to find things, you know, because I can tell you that, you know, it's very difficult to handle a script like that because it comes from a very far place. If you look at it deeply, it's not just something that was written in the manner that we understand inspiration. There's a woman who is, you know, an inspiration to Credo, but it's not a woman that we can see with our eyes or an entity, you know, called Kimami Reva, who then speaks to Mutwa, telling him these stories, and that's how the story came to be, you know. And in the 70s, if I had a conversation, what's her name, Nozipo Mutwa, who's a daughter, the first time I started now thinking of directing it, Kinale and Tate Prince Lamla. Yeah. Who's my colleague, you know, so we work together. So part of our program is to really do these things and expose them to our to the young people who are coming up. So then we then thought, look, Sipho, let's do this thing because it's something that is not just theater, but it's trying to educate us about who we are, you know, as human beings and as Africans especially. When you look at it, I mean, it talks about, you know, things that are out of this world, literally, you know, so that Nosilimela becomes this figure from a planet that is not here. So what Credo is trying to tell us is to really to show us how vast we are as people. So if we vibrate highly, these things perhaps become accessible to us. And that is where then we need to also question Western knowledge. And in as much as, you know, we need to interact with it, but we need to understand these texts insofar as they teach us our Africanity. So for me, it was about that. I was drawn to this text because I needed to understand something of myself. Remember that we grow up in families where, for instance, my mother would be a person who is a Methodist, and you're expected to do these things. Fortunately, I rejected those things very early. So I had to, but it wasn't just, it's not enough to reject something. You need to move towards something. So this kind of text for me, this kind of celebrations of these voices are important, because then it is about getting in touch with the self, if you like. Yes. So yeah, basically, I stumbled into this text.
Advocate Sipho Mantula, are we vibrating at a highly conscious level at this point? You tap into Africa in most cases and just look at the ins and outs and the ongoings of the continent. As South Africa, we're dealing with a lot at this stage. Gender-based violence is a hot topic that is on everybody's lips. Let's draw closer to the continent as a whole. You were saying and just highlighting the fact that they are old leaders, and therefore there needs to be some sort of rejuvenation of young thought, that comes into place. We talk of the likes of Sankara. They were very young, when they took, center stage as leaders, but, their lives were cut short. Where are we as the continent, Advocate
Can I
Sipho?
just come in quickly? Because I'm listening carefully to this thing about age. And for a person who's graying, I'm worried that, we are being ageist. Yeah, and we need to be careful with these things.
We're all
because
graying here on this panel.
With young people as well, it's not guaranteed. For me, it's also about understanding that these problems are systematic, because once we start looking at age and all these things, we are not analyzing the problem. You see, we are looking at, symptoms. You can put anyone there who's young and maybe overall. It's up to you, really.
Mahipi, so to speak. Lihipinyana.
Because, really, to run a country is not, you don't do anything because you get instructed from elsewhere. The point is that the stage managers don't have a habit of appearing on stage. So we don't see the stage managers. We see these guys shouting at each other, go parliament, and we think that's freedom, that they are doing something. But really, you must see when they say comfort break, nobody disagrees. But go staging is one. Go staging, we are the actor, the backstage, Eles pras. So performance. So we need to understand what's behind this performance, who's stage managing.
We need to be able to see the full production crew or cast, as it were.
I am backstage.
Yes.
I don't care who acts, whether young or old, it doesn't matter. To me, it's about what is it that you have.
Who's directing, who's stage manager?
But you see, Kgafela, the issue when I aging and ailing, I get more age. The age, I was talking about those who have been sitting into power for too long. Like Cameroon, Ukra elder Paul Biya, when Corona landed, he was nowhere to be found. And then you see other leaders who will want to say, but I want to go in for another term. I still want to taste this power. But like I will agree with you. You'll see young leaders from Madagascar, Rajolina, DJ, It's a young leader who have saying, if there is no consciousness, there is no thinking ahead. And then who's managing? Because the managers in the damagers, like Tosh will say, or the manager can be the damager, Now, reducers who even produce this knowledge of the young leaders in this country, and Paul. And violence, about the violence. This violence again, it is another form of a violence against a black soul, a black body, which has been there all along. And whether it's been pushed by another race or the same race, the fact remains violence against a black soul and a black body. And whether it's a female or male, but a black body that suffers. But the issue of where we are now is that we have leaders who manipulate elections in Africa. They make elections like a game of 5 years, you know. This is my 10. You know, others were pushing a game of 7 years, you know, at some point. But what is important is then the role of the artist. What is then the role of the messengers, like Kgafela, Gore, Pente, Baitshaba. So when you think of Pente, when Kgafela Pente, I will remember one thing that the leaders are afraid to be challenged, so they will want those who can speak their language. And the global media agenda, again, Paul, in Africa is to show other African leaders as bad leaders. Like the current leader of Burundi, Nkurunziza. The guy was a soccer player. He was a cyclist. You know, he was building schools around the villages. But there's a bad part about him that was saying, but this guy was a West leader. He was oppressing people of Burundi. Yeah. And how did we know about it in Azania? I've said it at some point. It was through Kajanina. Kajanina, she's an artist, she's a singer, comes to Azania and says, but guys, in Burundi, Bujumbura, there's something wrong happening there. And then we have artists like Bobby Wine in Uganda, who's been troubling Museveni as well.
Hey, a rebel, that one.
Another rebel, you know, yeah. Bobby Wine. You know. And then you've got another Rasta from Juba, Sudan, South Sudan, Bara Raskobi, original Raskobi. Bo Raskobi, they will tell you about Arabization of southern Sudan by the Arabs, by taking land and the water in the Nile River, using the music, and a reggae artist. And then you will come home like Kgafela. Then you have artists who go on national events of government, and their script has been scripted somewhere before they can come to the main event.
Who are those artists?
You see, we can't drop and name those artists, but what I am trying to say to you, Paul, is that you'll have artists who don't even, you see the issue that we are raising today of saying those artists are even taken to Europe. Like, we see there's an issue, Yakabra Freddy now, Nyatela. That's one thing that comes to my mind now.
Yeah.
That you find that there were artists who have been in the struggle before 1994, Paul. But post-1994, they have been left out. We see like Kgafela. They have been forced to come and contest with the young ones on putting their codes, you know, for Kgafela, refer code man for this event. When actually this man is a pioneer, he's a mentor, he's a teacher. Like Mwalimu, he must be given a space to teach rather than to perform. It's like what Miriam was fighting. Finally, because when you talk about Peggy Peterson, I read one thing about Peggy Peterson, 1994, when there was inauguration. Miriam Makeba was asked, who are you? I want a VIP ticket. I want to buy a little stage and go to VIP. I want to buy Ritamali, I want to buy Mama, buy a go Dimuda. So I will just post it.
Number 10. But askimi kankade, kibale da bo halala, halala. What did say about the halala? And a simple little thing, Linanga tuna no halala kopi, halala tafule, halala laitara, halala ditakusa pole, halala skipasa. So and a kidding everyone from 94, halala, halala, halala. Because when we talk about so this is the thing that came 94. You know, this is the new phenomenon now. Every politician who is Hamela praising Anyana. So, and then these artists have seen this gap, and gap for the artists. Like we're talking about.
Can you blame them, Kgafela? They want to eat. You know, people want to eat.
No, I'm not saying they shouldn't eat. I'm just observing, and I'm not. You know, I'm just saying. I mean, it's hard for me because I don't eat as much. I understand that. So, but you know, but yeah.
Mara wa bona lefa
Yeah,
ba ja,
so I'm
abaje Italy, which is vital, or abaje green, you know, abasaja fela, because
Yeah,
o ka
man.
jaja fela, o botla lo go kry-a poison, mo se go ke mala, wa bona.
It's important to understand this thing because that's how we are talking about stage management. How power is staged. So artists then choose whether they assist power to play out what it sees as its own magnificence, you know. So then the artist is hired, you know, and in this country it's hard when you have a voice and you are independent. You have to wear some color, you know, of sakoro tshwantsho babanka buyelo, wabona. Wayibona msi ifale sandawana akupati ukwathata mara ijwalo yabona so o tshwantse o apare di colors o ro tlhagellela o re halala what la o sa bui fokolo wabona la lo re a una ntwe e phelang ona ra mo soundong eo wabona so ene ke yona ra denye re exporta ditopo ra dia wabona. No, exporter. I've seen it now. I'm sitting with a guy here. Babona machita ibile bashaka telephone ngwe mara ke ibona. But now we don't want to. Let's not invite him to our festivals anymore. And I get Grotmani, man. Get mara Grotmani. So le Jeremani. Le bua le wena. Le o sang invite go di festival. And I've never been invited to a festival. So hona le lady le tswa Germany le tshwere di artist nya. Sa o itse re go etsa galang wa bona. Go control ke manga controllang dideng. And marle government era. So how re wa re ne man like no lase. You know, I can't work at home. Go Mafikeng. Well, I have 2 homes, Middlelands. I grew up there, and then my parents Batswa Mafikeng. So
Yeah.
ke ka sitsa ka di le 2. So one of the homes ke Mafikeng. I ke khona uspana ra. You know, it's interesting that I make a proposal to teach kids. I put this proposal last year. Or tshwaramba fetu ki ye ke tshwere di skills a nka le shebela. You know, it was just a writing program, nothing hateful really, but you know, I can't get it in, you know, those kind of things. And then this guy phones me, he's trying to advise me. I don't know, why don't you apply for relief, COVID relief? I give back relief. Who's relieving who here?
You
know,
genuinely want to do what you're proposing to do.
No, I can rob 2 sediments.
Yeah.
But I can get on the wheelbarrow mo di officing. So Mardi Batar di push, I didn't say. I can wheelbarrow can push you. Yeah, and I can struggle this Serena Linson, you know. So push the wheelbarrow, no.
Shoving all over.
Yeah. No, it's one.
Yeah, but I mean, just looking into the future, Advocate Sipho Mantula, we find ourselves with a lot of difficulties present and a lot of challenges that we have to go through. When you look in your crystal ball, what do you see? What would you like to envision, you know, for the African child, you know, on the continent? But an African child, obviously, who is interacting with the world over as well.
Yeah, you know, Mnisi Mvula, when Kgafela talk about Credo Mutwa, he spoke about establishing universities of truth. I think if the young people of this continent and this country can just be able to decipher between lies and truth, between real messengers and real revolutionaries in this time, between real time, what is the real time? And like Kgafela Bua, who is relieving who? And who's who, by the way? If you have World Health Organization fighting COVID-19, who's who? You know? So when you see the vision here, the epidemics, pandemics, or plandemics, because they don't do epidemics, so the pandemic. They plan this biochemical warfare to us. So the youth are still stuck and they are still lost because Babu Mutwa, if you remember, he passed on the eve of the lockdown or the lock up, because you can be locked down and can be locked up, you know. Babu Mutwa wanted to breathe. He wanted to suffocated at some point. So I am trying to say that if the youth of today cannot respect even the elders, Paul, and the knowledge, let's give credit where it is due sometimes. But let us even try to correct the rented artist, the misinformed artist, So, build like we were saying earlier, we are not naming and dropping artists here, but we are saying let us be critical to one another and let us build a new Azania that will not have a political symbolism. If you didn't go exile, what about who were in exile? Because if we were exiled, there were those who were here. I will always think about Rebani Mokhatla this day because Sipho, we are known only on this day. After this day, people, they don't know us. And the owner guy, Alex, go take Sipho Santini, Nambukai, 3 tiger no hoyara. It's another cost of living ya youth. So, what I am trying to say in short, when Paul, let the youth take their baton, and we must establish ourselves universities of truth. We should not want to seek Western education to can dilute us and pollute us. So we must be sanitized with African knowledge. And we must never allow...
You're talking about a parallel system somehow that we need to, by ourselves, put into place. A parallel system that will, run concurrently with, what we don't agree with.
Rapture, but you can go parallel, but you must know how to strangle the master. At some point you must strangle the master. Like Kgafela, we want to say, slave master to be in the bush. At some point you must strangle the master. You must not allow the master to can strangle us because the youth are now suffocating, and they must liberate themselves. And it's kind of you must know this. You must listen to conscious sounds. Like Umkulu will say, you must play conscious sounds. Paul.
Injalo,
okay. So Injalo, in the sense that we need conscious teachings and we need conscious content as well. And I think what we are doing this afternoon on a rainy day, we are conscientizing the youth. We are doing our part, and I think they will pick up from us.
Yeah, look, I think for me it's also important that, it's each one teach one. We need to understand this because just at a simple level, I learn a lot from my sons, Warona, Lewarena, my daughter, Mogela. They may not think they're saying something great, and they're just talking, but listen sometimes to the young people, because also they're coming into this world and they're coming from another world. This thing is a cycle. So they are here to teach us anew. So in as much as we think that we can conscientize, we need to understand that teaching is a conversation. Where I work, it is such a space. From just years of teaching, I've observed that my students teach me. I was on stage with Sbusiso now, the vocalist. He's a student at Wits doing his master's. He's an actor, wonderful actor. I've worked with him on a number of programs. He was working on Osilimele as a music director. So he's a genius, and I learn a lot from him also, just from when we make music. So we shouldn't also, as elders or elderly people, or people of, Arabian Naisinyana, people of our vintage. So let's not, so understand this thing as give and take. Because how is Shebella, when we go back also, Biko ka the 70s were young people, they were young people of the time. They gave us a revolution that you go to States, so the whole movement, Black Panther.
So no about.
No, you see, that's the thing. We need to open spaces and listen, And I think that these gems that can give us a great revolution. It's about interacting, because there's a story that Unko Sinati, Biko's son, told me one day that, the first time that Ubiko was to meet Sobukwe. Yeah. What how? uThixo khona.
Ukhona uthi.
So
Bafundini.
understanding,
Uthixo
no, they are elders, and this youth understood that they needed to also dig somewhere. That's why this idea, big as the father, complicates things for me, because he was fathered as well, and you wonder what were the others? Were they the uncles of BC? What's going on? So we need to also not do this thing where we take one person and make them the entity. Because if you look at the leadership of PC, they were choosing a new president every year. So they understood that leadership is and it was part of the drama of confusing the enemy at the time. But it was also working within the system, leadership, which takes us to very ancient, African systems. So this is the thing Imajita and I observe. In simple terms, or malombo, when they were reawakening this sound, they were also trying to look at how they work. So nobody's above everyone. Black consciousness was created by many voices, and it's important not to get caught up in Western ways of telling our stories where it becomes big as black consciousness. For me, I think we need to recognize others like Bomule Fepetu. I've already mentioned Nomsizi Cry. Their contributions, their voices were part of this thing. There's Sadiq Viviana, who's now there, Kobo Lansera. There were many people. Sadiq Viviana tells you a wonderful story about this trial, BC, Wapula the Sasso 9 trial. It wasn't just a trial, but it was also a performance, if you understand, because they did what they call guerrilla theater. So the idea that, Labavaya, Kostrate, they put out their hands there, clenched fist. It was a performance to show people that we are here, we have arrived. Biko himself.
So an industrial theater type of showcase in a way.
I wouldn't say industrial because it wasn't selling anything.
Yeah.
It's guerrilla theater.
Guerrilla.
That's what he calls it. So Ubiko was knew that, look, I will have to die for an idea that will live. Abangoma bareke Imvo makufa.
Yeah.
So he agreed to die because he knew that he was silenced. Sakir Biko was bent when this trial was taking on. So Babu wali majita neba fetu are takantzen so Biko man utwere sprakato. Palama dide nyena, because we need to stage black consciousness to the world. So it was staged. So Biko understood that these guys will come for me. So, but then he was highly in charge spiritually. That's why I'm saying to you, this is Imvo makufa. He knew. You have to agree to die for an idea that will live. So that was, those were young people. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't coming from elders. So we need to also find these young people. I know we have these young people in this country, and we will find them. We just need to reach out, and that is the thing. There's nothing like youth that is lost. The youth that there is a youth that is captured, of course, by all this gleam, that is moving towards this light that is bright. We understand that, but I listen to young people, the sounds that are coming from urban village, Botumi Mokhorosi, all these guys, the wretched. These are the youth who are saying we are available. Let's join hands. Let's shake up this thing.
PCUC,
Yes,
Santa experiment. Akona madela kufa Sipho,
No, definitely put on. They are there, and I will think my parting shot. Saturday, Paul, it was the day of Walter Rodney. He said, another world, it is possible. So what Kgafela is saying, the youth of today, they have a lot to say. They have a lot to pick up the pieces, and you'll remember when you say, where are those youth? Like he said, the youth of 2015 of the fees must fall. We were expecting something, but what we saw, it was a capture and a rapture. Others were captured, others just rose to the occasion. Others lost it along the way. Africanized curriculum, Africanize it.
Stock sweets.
Baba ngwe jeme botoro, baba njeme botoro, crusanti. You know, hasa ja magwenya, hasa ja bokgokgo,
Blue
o ja
cheese.
nukrusant,
Oh,
you
it's
know.
a blue cheese.
Yes, my brother. So I think, for me, I think moving forward, the youth, we need them to be brave and to be conscious.
Gentlemen, we'll wrap it up right there. I thank you so much for taking the time, to, reflect on your views on the day, to reflect on the continent and the world over. Mayibuye, Soda Studios, Imvo Media, JHBlive.